recruiting-ish. Web3, world-class podcast. Let's get it, let's go. The topics of discussion you cannot get from another. Opportunities in Web3, we got you covered. Metaintro, been dope. Gotta thank you for the love and support that you give it, keep it coming. We going up in jet speeds, interviews with the crews, making moves, let's see. It's a brand new world of NFTs. Join in Recruiting-ish podcast, yes please. Join in Recruiting-ish podcast, yes please. Metaintro does not give financial advice. Information provided by Metaintro is intended to be used and must be used for informational purposes only. Always do your own research on the companies that you apply to and the opportunities that you invest in.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to episode, what are we on, 11 now? 12?
Wait, 11.
11. Episode 11 of the Recruiting-ish podcast. It's Tuesday, February 28th. My name's Alex. I'm your crypto recruiter. I'm here with Lacey from the Metaintro team and a super special guest that we're really excited to have, Rob Messer. Twitter name, Mr. Messer, in case you want to give him a follow. Rob, say hello. Would love to hear just an intro. Tell everybody who you are.
Sure. Alex, Lacey, so good to be here. Thank you for having me. This has really met a amazing full circle for me. The TLDR from my story is I started I went to school for marketing, ended up in the elementary teacher for 10 years, and I really grew out of it towards the end, had to find a way out. And, I found my time being spent outside the classroom in this Web3 thing, got sucked in through VFens and Gary V and all of that. So I was like, man, this is my calling. I wasn't a techie, I wasn't an artist. So I was like, okay, what bucket, how do I fit into this world? So I just started creating content, and I found this cool Discord called Metaintro, which really was a saving grace for me, just inspiration to finding out there were so many opportunities out there. So I really gravitated towards that through putting out content and writing and TikTok and all of those things. I was able to find a job at a startup layer 1 blockchain. And I started my own podcast, and I wrote articles on LinkedIn, and it ended up getting picked up by an outlet called 1:37 p.m. And I ended up, doing what a lot of the listeners here are trying to do, is find your place in Web3. So I'm so happy to be here. And, it happened super quick. This has really only been a year for me, but I'm super happy to be here and to jam with you guys.
It's awesome that you're here. For context to everybody that's listening, we posted a job on Well-Found, previously AngelList, saying, hey, we're looking for a podcast host. Here's just essentially an ATS system to apply. And then Rob DM'd me, and, we've been in chats here and there over the past year. And he was like, hey, I think this would be fun to hop on. And it was a no-brainer to bring somebody onto the podcast that's on the other side of the table, in terms of hey, I've gone through the job seeking process. Hey, I know what it's like to make that transition from Web 2 to Web 3. And so I was like, come on in, come on the pod. It'll be interesting to hear your feedback from today's call-ins. We're calling them call-ins, right? I want to make sure I get that right.
Call-ins, yeah. For now, again, we might change it.
For now.
Call-ins for now.
So it will be interesting to get your opinion on the call-ins from a job seeker's perspective. And again, for context, we've been doing this for the past few episodes, where if you have a question regarding to anything in the Web3 career job search space or hiring space, you can send in your audio files for us to play back on this podcast, and we'll dive in. We'll give you our opinions, our thoughts on how to move forward or get over that hurdle. And so before we dive into those questions that we have today, which are a really good set of questions, I only listened to a little bit of them, so I promise that this will also be impromptu. A few call outs just from what's happening in the Metaintro ecosystem. If you're at ETH Denver this week, drop us a GM in the comments. Maybe we can meet up at one of the 100 events that are happening. Go grab a coffee, take a look at your resume. Just drop us a GM, and we'll find a time to connect. And then coming up over the next 60 days, Metaintro will also be hosting a ton of job fairs, official job fairs for really big conventions. We have all of the events listed in our Discord. However, just calling them out here, will be at IWB in March in DC, Fest in Atlanta at the end of March, hosting the official job fair for Miami NFT Week in the beginning of April, and then just announced, we'll also be hosting the official job fair for Bitcoin 2023 in May. So get your tickets. There's a bunch of discount codes in the events tab. It'll be a fun opportunity for you to come by, say hi, and hopefully land a job. I think that was it. That was a good rundown of everything that's going on.
Perfect rundown. Are you calling that the IR? Yeah, the IRL
What?
tour, right? You're taking Discord into in person. It's going to be nice to see everybody from Discord in person behind the avatars.
I know, behind the avatars. I love that.
There you go. Well, if you want to kick off the recordings, the call-ins, we're ready when you are.
Some of these call-ins came in through our live Discord stages this past week. Another great way to submit your questions is to hop into those events. It's just another way for us to record questions. If you go into our events tab, you'll see those happen every Wednesday in the mornings, PST time. And so first one is from somebody in our Discord named Shola. Shola had a special request that we look at his resume. So we'll take a super quick look. If you want to give back 1 to 2 bits of feedback on his resume, that would be amazing. And if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple, we will drop the link to his resume in the show notes. And if you're an employer and you're looking for a developer and you feel like Shola might be a good fit, go ahead and click on it. You'll see his contact information there. All right.
Amazing. Is this a recruiting-ish first to have a resume show?
This is a first. Yeah.
I'm happy to
It was a special request.
Historical moment. Amazing.
Yeah.
This is exciting.
Totally mind all of my crazy tabs that are saved. Is that better?
That looks better.
Or do you? Okay, I could zoom in. Oh, there you go.
Oh, that's perfect. That's a sweet spot right there.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So he's on LinkedIn. Good.
Yeah,
I'm just going to scroll through.
Portfolio also, it looks like, does he have his own branded website?
November 20.
Yes. Yeah, I see it. Initial thoughts, opinions?
Initial thoughts. So first of all, Shola, you have a tremendous amount of skills. You have quite the toolbox. So, man, and I would, and I see you're on LinkedIn. It's so easy. I don't know how you are with writing, if you enjoy that, but to give a quick little TLDR on all of these technical skills that you have is a great way to get content to show your expertise. And I know I'm banging on that drum because it's such a great way for people to take notice of you, especially if you're on LinkedIn, which I see you are from this. Definitely celebrate that. I mean, you have a lot going on here that would be attractive to, I think, someone hiring. The 2 pieces of advice I would have just looking at this is create a kind of 1 sentence summary of who you are with some nice adjectives and what you're looking to do, right? You have the summary of your qualifications is very long, which is a good thing. But as a reader, looking at this as a whole body of work, it's very intimidating. And if I have a stack of, and guys, tell me if I'm wrong here. If I'm looking through, like I said, I was a teacher. So if I have a stack of 20, 30, 75 resumes to look at, and I have a whole one that's just totally blows me away with all this text, I may not look at it as much. So I would really try to summarize what you're doing a little bit more. And I think a good sentence or 2 that tells the story of you and what you can offer to a company would do wonders at the top. And it's another step, but really contextualize it to the company that you're sending it to. learn what they're about, and maybe find a way to whittle that into your sentence or your paragraph.
Nice.
But man, you're talented. Look at this. It's going to take
What
me
do you
half a
think,
day to
Alex?
read this.
Yeah, it's to Rob's point. It's a great resume. Ton of skills, way more skills than I have in terms of technical ability. So shout out to you. I think I'm a big fan of, again, the layout's good. It's not too much, right? I think colors help kind of pull out titles and things like that, which draws your eyes in. I think to Rob's point though, like a lot of info that could be condensed and summarized. Like in your summary of qualifications, you list using certain technologies and languages, and then you also list it in technical skills. So you could probably take out some of those from the summary of qualifications and put more into, hey, I am looking for a full stack remote opportunity for a Web3 company, or something that just summarizes your goals. Because then you also have in your experience, specific projects that you worked on with those technologies. So I think just taking out some of those duplicate, wording pieces would help. And then as well, if you scroll down a little bit, just so I can see the next one after Nifter. So, I mean, it looks good. It looks like, the good thing that I look for in resumes is not only the action, but the results. So you do put in there like what your input on the project is, what success looks like. Mostly qualitative though. So I would say quantitative would be like specific, percentage increases in uptime or, increasing efficiencies may help just balance out some of the like qualitative, specific projects you worked on. But again, I don't know exactly some of the projects you worked on, so it may not have that. But overall, I think good format and simple. Don't overcomplicate it.
All right. Well, his resume will be linked in the show notes. So if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple, you'll be able to see what we are looking at here. Well, that's a first. Kind of cool. Take a look at somebody's resume.
That was a great
Takes
moment.
a lot of courage to want to share that to the world. So kudos to you, Shola. All right. For the next one.
Hey, I have a question. I've been looking for a job for like 4 months now, and I haven't gotten any offers yet. I'm trying to get a job in social media marketing in Web3, but, is the job market really that bad right now, or am I doing something wrong? I would really appreciate any advice you could give me. Thanks.
Rob, from a job seeker,
I'll jump in.
How is it?
Totally. The job market is not as hot. To be honest, I haven't been looking. I haven't had my pulse on as much as I was when I needed anything. But I will say 4 months when you're in it does seem like a really long time. And you go 2 months without something, and then you get a bite at an interview, and then they don't follow through, or you think you have a great interview, and then they never call you back. Like, I understand the emotional roller coaster. Social media marketing, if you're looking for a job as social media or marketing, you need to put your mind you need to put yourself in the shoes of the person they're going to hire their social media person, right? So the first thing that I would do is look at their social media. So LinkedIn, again, I just said this to Shola, but LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, like do a Twitter, if nothing else, Twitter, like what are you going to do for them? Before you can say anything, before you give out your list of ideas, they're going to audit what you're doing for yourself. So the best thing you can do right now, and I know it's a lot because job searching takes a lot of energy, right? And it's emotional, but really take the time to make content for yourself. Don't tell people what you're going to do, show them what you're going to do for them, right? If you think you can help them with their TikTok, create a TikTok, right? And just do it every single day. Consistency over anything else. If you're going to help them with their Twitter, tweet yourself, right? 2-3 times a day, right? Take pictures of how you built your own account, right? This is where I was on February 28th. this is where I am on March 28th, and just show that. So you really need to be, you need to act like you're doing it for yourself first. And then on the other side, apply, 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 apply. And the other little hack that I employed myself was find out who's making these decisions. So for instance, if I was trying to get a job with Metaintro, I would go to LinkedIn, type in Metaintro. It shows you all the people that work there. Find out who's in the social media department. Click on their profile. Start chiming in on their conversations. Not like give me a job, but adding value, right? Liking it, putting thoughtful comments towards it. Find them on Twitter, right? Really do the work and go the extra mile. Because if you're doing the extra mile to get the job, you're more than likely going to go the extra mile while you have the job, and people know that. So yeah, audit yourself first.
I think that's great. I mean, from a recruiter's perspective, like the inside scoop, the market is kind of shit right now. It's been shit for a little bit, especially in crypto. Like there's companies shedding people, laying off or downsizing pretty dramatically. So marketing is like always one of the first teams, in addition to HR and recruiting, that gets laid off, just because it's expensive to market. And if they are running out of money or they're trying to conserve, like they'll probably reduce some of their creative teams. So, in social media right now, it is tough. And there's a lot of people that are looking for those roles. So, to Rob's point, like, how do you stand out? I think the market's tough, but the bar has been risen. So, before, social media might have just been engaging in the community and little bits of content, but now they're looking for someone who can do branding. They can do TikTok and Instagram and LinkedIn, right? Like they're looking for someone really dynamic. So, to his point, like reach out and show your skills. I mean, TikTok and platforms give you the ability to go viral. So, the day in the life of, a Spotify social media or whatever it is that you want to create might end up getting to that company just because of the reach. So try it out. I mean, in the meantime, as you're applying, it's frustrated, like turn that frustration into some creative content. And you'd probably be surprised with how far it might go, as well as like network. Like applying only gets you so far. Like reach out, connect with people, ask your friends, ask your family, ask anybody who can get you in the door to some of these places, and then you can throw that content at them and hope it sticks.
I thought the layoff announcements would be over, but this week we saw quite a few, like including Polygon announced, what was it, like 20% of their staff being laid off?
Yeah, 20% at Polygon. Masari did a 15% layoff. I think Meta, non-crypto, but tech is, getting another layoff here soon, and it does not show any signs of slowing down. And a lot of people are in marketing.
If nothing else, that's another sign to really start working on your own brand, right? Especially if you're in social media marketing. And the one thing that I will throw in that I forgot to add in my little rant there is to look at the people or the companies that you're seeing that you would want to work for and email them, what you would do. Like I called it a strategy sheet, and I did over at least 24 of them. But one of them got me a job doing Twitter for someone in his Web3 company. So all it takes is one, but the more value you can give, the more that will come, more opportunity will come your way. So best of luck.
So in the spirit of layoffs, I actually got a question on our live on Wednesday that I want to call a quick audible and have us answer instead versus this last audio file that we have. So Anne wrote in and said, how do we feel about applying to companies that recently announced layoffs? What do you think, Alex? That was a good question too.
I have asked this question myself before in going through the job search, right? Like from a candidate's perspective, you just did a bunch of layoffs. Now you're hiring. Are you stable? Do you know what you're doing? What's the point, right? Like, am I going to get hired and you're going to lay me off next? Valid questions. I'll give it kind of two sides. So from like a person that's been laid off, sometimes they lay off in some roles so that they can then move money to others, and it's just prioritization. And for myself in recruiting, if they're not doing a ton of hiring, if I get laid off, they might be able to hire an engineer that can help them build a better product. Like there is a trade-off that businesses do internally. But from like a personal perspective, it's a risk, right? Like if companies are laying off candidates, it's like you could get laid off. Like I think you need to accept that as part of getting, into that company, and make the decision if that's something you want to do. I know a lot of people that got laid off from Coinbase, like myself, and then they joined Amazon or Meta, and then they got laid off from them, a month or two after starting.
That's
yes,
awful.
And I'm sure if that's happened to you, it sucks, right? It's like you don't want to ever get laid off, but laying off twice is even worse. So I think some of that is like adjust your search. Like if you're scared of getting laid off or that's a risk, find a job or industry that's more stable or a company that might be a little bit more well capitalized. But be aware of it, right? Like ask the question, hey, you just laid people off. What's the deal? Like I think it's very real.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking, A, you have to really love the company because you're taking that risk. And B, just like you said, in a stable enough situation where you can kind of weather a storm. But the thought that's coming to my head is I wouldn't do it if you're just a one-trick pony. Like for instance, like to the last caller, if social media is just your thing, right? Because I feel like if they're in the season of laying off, they're going to look to squeeze the most they can out of anyone that they're taking on, right? So that might mean like multi-departments, right? Wearing multiple hats. So if you are someone that is skilled in a vast amount of areas, a variety of areas, I would say, and like use that because it could be a moment, right, where you couldn't get in before when things were really great, but now you could help them here and here and here. So here you could come in and save the day, right, for maybe in an affordable way. So I think if you can check all of those boxes, it could be a good idea.
I just thought that was a good question in the midst of all of these layoffs because on the live this week, right after the announcement with Polygon started posting jobs. And then Anne asked that question, was like, hey, this is a great job opportunity, but like, didn't they just announce layoffs? Like, how do you think they're farming applicants? Do you think that they're reorganizing funds to different departments at the company? What types of, and from that conversation, we thought through a little bit of like, what questions do you ask in an interview that don't come off nosy? But you have a right to know. Like if you're being considered, I think that's a fair question to ask. It's like, hey, what about all of these layoffs? Were you just like reorganizing the company? Were you trying to allocate funds to different departments? It's totally fair to ask those questions.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, I think if you're a recruiter working at a company that's done layoffs, be prepared to answer that question with some examples, right? Be transparent, be like, here's what's going on, right? Like ask your leadership for specific talking points on how to navigate that because it's tough, right? Like you may not know and, you want to give the candidate the best answer you can and be fair and transparent. And then from the candidate side, to Lacey's point, right? Like you don't want to be nosy or like come off as kind of abrasive, but your question is regard to stability. So you can ask, hey, there's a layoff. Are things stable? What's the leadership like? Has there been communication around these things? Like there's a lot of ways that you can ask the question without being super direct and get hopefully the information. But yeah, to Rob's point, it's a risk. Like if you're applying and possibly hiring at Amazon or Facebook right now, like 6 months from now, there may be another layoff. You might get involved. But if you're working or applying for something in manufacturing or supply chain, like those places are booming right now, may not be the same. So could pivot depending on what you're looking for, even if it's temporary. But I think that's an amazing question.
Agreed. And big respect for anyone that asks that question. To your point, both of you, it's a fair question, but I don't know if I get to that interview stage, like, am I gonna roll the dice and ask that? Because man, that's it's tough. I mean, if you get, for anyone listening, if you get in that position, ask that question, please comment on this video podcast, however you're consuming this, or tweet at Metaintro and tell us how it went after. Good kudos to you. And yeah, great question. Great question.
All right. Well, for the last segment of today, we have something new. That was Rob's idea. We are doing some shout outs. So these shout outs come from the depths of crypto Twitter, some corners of our Discord, of individuals that are celebrating big accomplishments in their career. So Rob, I'm going to take it away.
Let's go. And I think we need to come up with a cool name next time.
Yes.
Maybe some like celebratory music. The first one, a big congratulations to, and please, everyone, forgive me if I mispronounce any names. You're loved, and I will get it right next time. Big congrats to Ugochi for completing her 10-day intensive Web3 moderator training. It's hard to do anything for 2 straight days, but to do it for 10, that's unbelievable. So amazing job, Ugochi. Also, big congrats to Asian Glendow for securing pre-seed investment for his Web3 creation, Nude Club. We'll elaborate on that, I guess, another time, but I would love to know more about that. For now, pre-seed investment locked in. Congrats, Asian Glendow. Huge congrats to Kevin Logan Jr. and Adam Posner of Probably Nothing Talent for launching their newest podcast, The Immutable Mindset. I believe we have the link to their podcast in our show notes, so please check them out. Congrats. Starting a podcast is not the easiest thing, so really way to go, guys. And a shout out to Makuza.eth for being a member of the Metaintro community. You absolutely rock. We love you. We appreciate you. And just thanks for being in the Metaintro community. And that's it for this week's Metaintro shout out. Yeah, we'll come up with a cool name. If you guys have an idea for the shout out segment, you can coin the name. Let us know.
Great. Well, I think that was a good episode today. Talked about some good stuff, did some shout outs.
I could do this all day. This is really cool, and I think we talked off the air how cool it is to have both dynamics. You guys from the recruiter side, me from the other side, someone that's lived it. Really interesting to see the different perspectives, especially during this climate and the different dynamics that are happening.
All right, Alex, do you want to sign us off? I can. If my dogs are signing us off too, I apologize. They're going crazy. But yeah, I appreciate everybody tuning in. Make sure to engage with us in the Discord, on any of our channels that we post a podcast, either video or shout us out on Twitter. Rob, thank you for being here. We'll include all of his information as well as some links to his content and podcast. Go give him a like and follow, and part of the family now. So thank you for being here. Lacey as well, the Discord queen. Anybody who is looking for a job, check out the Metaintro Discord. Daily updates, newsletters, ton of content going on, and as well, we'll continue to make these podcasts. So that's it for episode 11. We'll see you on the next one.